Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back, 8th graders. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here for today's explainer. We're actually doing something incredibly unique today. We're taking the physics lab and crashing it right into the spiritual lab. Because today, we're not just talking about dry equations on a whiteboard. No way. We're talking about how the very laws that govern motion in our universe beautifully reflect the principles that govern a purposeful life. So prepare to be challenged, get ready to think deeply, and honestly prepare to see the universe in a whole new way. Seriously, I want you to think about this for a second. What does a speeding physics cart, zooming down a metal track, have to do with your faith? It kind of sounds like a trick question, right? But I promise you, it's not. Today, we're testing the physical laws of the universe right alongside the spiritual laws of life. Because as you're about to see, the exact way objects move and accelerate can actually teach us a profoundly deep lesson about how we are supposed to move and grow in our everyday walk.
All right, let's get into our first main idea: faith, physics, and action.
In both science and our personal lives, abstract theories are really just ideas floating around in our heads. An equation literally means nothing if it doesn't describe actual reality. And this brilliantly illustrates our foundational principle for today, straight from James 1:22. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Think about it. Just sitting in a physics lecture doesn't make you a scientist, right? And just listening to moral teachings without actually acting on them, that doesn't build character. Learning, just like faith, is completely incomplete if you don't apply it. You have to actually do the experiment. You have to live the principle.
So why do we bother doing experiments at all? Let's talk about it.
Have you ever found yourself wondering why we don't just, read the science textbook, memorize Newton's laws, pass a quick multiple choice test, and just move on? Well, reading the theory gives you the concept, sure, but doing the experiment, that gives you the proof. By getting your hands dirty, measuring force, mass, and acceleration yourself, you get to see that the mathematical calculations match real-world results perfectly. The theory suddenly comes alive right in front of your eyes.
Here's exactly what you're going to master today. First, we'll be setting up a force experiment from scratch. Second, you'll learn how to measure acceleration super accurately. And third, we're going to compare your data directly to Newton's predictions. Let's turn you all into active scientists right now. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Let's look at exactly how we measure that force.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because our lab setup is beautifully simple, but man, is it effective. Step 1, you're going to attach a weight to your physics cart. That weight is going to act as your force, pulling the cart right along the track. Step 2, we'll set up a motion sensor at the very end of the track to constantly track the cart's speed over time. And step 3, we use all that sweet data to measure the acceleration. You're going to find out firsthand that changing the force directly changes the acceleration, proving the exact same laws Sir Isaac Newton figured out while literally hiding from the plague back in 1665. Pretty wild, right? All right, you ran the lab, you got the data. Now, what do the results actually mean? Of course, just collecting data is only half the battle. The real magic is in the analysis. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly the physical world obeys the math. Look at example 1. A small weight means less force, which gives us slower acceleration. Makes total sense, right? Now upgrade to a large weight in example 2, you apply way more force and boom, you get much faster acceleration. But check out example 3. If we keep the force exactly the same, but make the cart much heavier, the acceleration slows right back down. It naturally takes more force to move a heavier object. It is just such a beautiful, predictable system. And you can literally see it right here. Notice that dramatic spike in acceleration right in the middle? That happens the moment we increase the force with a large weight. The acceleration just spikes. But the second we increase the mass of the cart on the far right, the acceleration drops right back down to the floor, even with that same force applied. It's super simple. Mass resists acceleration, force creates it. I actually want to pause right here and pull a really crucial question directly from your homework assignment. Think about your lab for a second. How did your results actually match Newton's prediction? Why do we measure acceleration in meters per second squared anyway? And let's think even bigger. What real-world systems does this lab resemble? Think about slamming your foot on the gas pedal in a car or an airplane roaring down a runway for takeoff. You are observing the exact same forces that engineer our entire modern world. So keep those questions in the back of your mind as you review your data. Let's pivot slightly and dive into power and obedient action.
Now, let's connect Newton's law directly to our daily lives. Here is your biblical morality tip for the day. Just as physics absolutely requires both force and mass to calculate acceleration, real life requires a specific combination of traits to actually move forward. Newton's second law teaches us that physical results are totally predictable. Well, spiritually and morally, results come from strength combined with consistency. You can't just have one random burst of energy and then completely stop. You need consistent forward motion to create real results in your life and in your character. So, the crucial point is this: true spiritual faith is a partnership. On one side of the equation, we have God's immense, limitless power. On the other side, we have our obedient, consistent action. Just like the weight physically pulling the cart, God provides the incredible driving force, but we have to actually take off the brakes and choose to move. Faith requires both His power and our obedient action to see real, tangible change in our lives. If you just sit there parked on the track, well, absolutely nothing happens.
Which brings us to our final section for today: smart minds and spiritual peace.
You might be wondering, why do we even study physics and faith side by side in the first place? Well, at HeroesMart Academy, the Godly Learners series is built on one very specific foundational philosophy: education without morality will hurt. I want you to think about that deeply for a second. What is the actual point of being brilliant, of totally acing your physics test, of being supposedly highly educated if you just continue to make choices that hurt yourself and the people around you? I mean, a fast cart heading in the entirely wrong direction? That's just a faster disaster. We absolutely have to steer our intelligence with strong character. And that is exactly why intertwining biblical morality with your education brings the ultimate reward. Romans chapter 8, verses 6 and 7 actually promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. When you align your understanding of the physical world with a really strong moral and spiritual compass, you don't just gain knowledge, you gain peace. You finally understand how the universe works, and more importantly, you understand your rightful, purposeful place right within it. So, 8th graders, I'm going to leave you with this final, empowering question to chew on today. Will you apply both physical and spiritual laws to see real change in your life? Don't just listen to the word, do what it says. Go out there, set up your cart, measure your acceleration, and step out in consistent, obedient action. I honestly cannot wait to see the incredible momentum you build. See you all next time.